had the case study.
Yeah, no, I just don't like that.
Should Bud consider purchasing the printing and stationery business?
Can I elaborate on the first one a little bit, just because I didn't really concentrate on stationery, I concentrated more on like the distribution strategy.
Okay, you did answer the second question.
Yeah, I'm sorry, what's the question?
Should Bud consider purchasing the printing and stationery business?
I thought that he shouldn't, just because of what he studied, and I liked how they focused on the various interstates and how they're centered. And since he studied marketing, I saw potential to concentrate in the Asian and Latin American markets where he could come up with a strategy. And so basically my answer was no, he should not purchase it.
Okay, very good. Lynn, how about your answer to question 2?
I also said that he should not purchase it, and if he does, he needs to like invest in new machinery and stuff. If he wants to increase production and maybe bring his products to other states. Also bring his business online. Like maybe selling stuff to sites like Etsy or like have his own domain.
Okay. All right. Samantha, how about question 3?
So about feasibility, he needs to do a feasibility study or analysis, I said, to look at just all the data and things. So gone to like the 5 primary areas: the overall business idea, the product, service, industry, market, financial projections, and the plan for future action. And then describing what was in those, and then for how he could get the information. I said obviously online there's a lot of websites and places you can go to, such as what they mentioned with the Financial Risk Management Association for his finances. And then he could also go out into the community, talk to people, talk to any competition, talk to the existing markets around where he is. You can do questionnaires, and I said it might give him a sense of the trends of the population. And then the book also touched on pilot testing, so I said he could even do a pilot test. So preliminary run of the business, which will allow him to see what works, what doesn't, and how he can prepare himself for any problems that he might run into.
Okay, very good, very good. Taylor, do you have anything to offer on that?
In terms of like who to go to for
Yeah,
additional
in
support.
terms of your response, what did you?
Well, I mean, that was essentially what I said, like the data analysis and coming up with all the statistics of what do you need and everything, and then for additional support, online options, business advisors, these just people to help you with the home management.
Okay, all right, very good. All right, so that will cover the case study. We'll do the article reviews from group 2 between our 2 guest speakers. All right. So let me introduce our guest speaker. Oh God, he has a. You're going to do it yourself.
Yes, my video editor couldn't come.
All right, come on up.
Cool, thanks.
Matt Holmes from Holmes Holdings. Matt is an entrepreneur.
Put this right
many
here.
times over. He also graduated from here, both undergraduate and MBA, I believe.
Yes, sir.
Did they take that MBA back? Did they retract
Not
it?
yet.
Not yet, okay. So, Matt has been in several classes here with me and spoken about his entrepreneurial experiences. So I've asked him to come back again and share with you, why did he become an entrepreneur? That's one of the starting points. And some of the things that he's actively engaged in, and particularly in supporting entrepreneurs, and the good, bad, and the ugly. The good, bad, and the ugly. Okay, Matt, it's all yours.
Thanks. Can you help me get this down?
Oh, you want to get down?
Yeah. So while we're getting set up, who here has actually launched a business before? 1, 2. 2 out of how many? 10, 12? You
There
guys?
should be 15. There's a couple.
15? Okay. And who here has taken an entrepreneurship class before this one? Just 2. 3, 4. Sweet.
What'd you guys take? What ones did you take?
I took entrepreneurial family law with Patricia Alliance.
Oh, out of LGST department. Yeah. You took the business plan class. Yeah. Okay. Need to- I'll get the notes. Okay. I think we're good.
So who here wants to launch a business one day and be their own boss? Most? All? Most. That's fine. Just want to finish getting set up. My most recent venture is a video series, so you guys have to forgive me while we're getting started and filming from weird cameras and things. So I'm here to talk to you guys today about if you should launch a business right now. Is right now the time? And but I'd like to get to know you guys a little bit better still. What year are you guys? Juniors, seniors?
Seniors.
All seniors and one junior?
I'm a junior.
Junior, a few juniors? Okay, cool. Cool. Great, well, let's get started. So, like I said, feel free to keep your computers open. You might be registering a domain or launching your business or doing something on your way to that point. I like to start with this quote: ideas are easy, implementation is hard. Can someone tell me what that means to you? What does that mean in entrepreneurship?
It means you can dream it, that's easy, but in order to make it work, it's really tough.
That's exactly right. Anyone else? Samantha?
Not just putting ideas down, but actually getting, like, you can use like the capital or like the businessy side of things, and like actually starting it and staying with it and motivating yourself.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It takes time to actually make a dream a reality. It takes time to turn your passion into something that can pay the bills. So don't forget about that. It's a lot of work. So here's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to spend a good amount of time on startup tips. I'll tell you guys a little bit about me. You guys can ignore those. I took those out and forgot to remove that from the table of contents. Whoops. I'll talk about this. This is what I'm working on now. It's a video series, mentorship program, and event series here in Denver to help aspiring entrepreneurs launch their business. So yes, you can bet that I'm going to try to convince you to launch your business right now. We'll talk about 3 takeaways in case you forget everything or didn't pay attention or Facebook, and that's fine. I'll tell you guys 3 takeaways at the end. Maybe we'll talk about who's ready to execute if any of you guys are actually excited. And then a Q&A. We'll take questions at the end, but pretty interactive. You can see I didn't even update the table of contents, so stop me at any time if you have questions or comments. So startup tips. Let's start again with you guys. What are 3 reasons to start your business? To be your own boss. That's a great one. In the back. To create a great product, yes. Build value. Sell it.
Get money.
To get money. It's a good one. I don't know if it's the right reason to be an owner of a business that's profitable, but it might not be the best reason to start a business.
No, man, not, but you gotta find something to pay bills.
Yeah, at the end of the day, absolutely. Especially service-based and lifestyle businesses. If you can provide a consulting service, that's a value. You can make some money doing that, and it'll get you in the right mindset. So some of the time, I'd say. 4th reason, one more. Yeah, to make the community a better place. Absolutely. Reasons to not start a business. Someone we haven't heard from. Yeah. Yeah, the risk is right about here. It's taller than you can reach. There's more risk than you even know about. You're exactly right. Yeah, you don't have enough money. It's a tech idea. You need 25 grand to develop the idea. You don't have 25 grand to spare. For sure. No skills? Yeah. Yeah, getting some experience in the industry that you in the future want to launch your business in is a great idea. 3 others in the back. Work and stress? Yeah, it's pretty stressful. You get sued as a business owner. You don't really get sued that much as an employee. That's stressful, right? Did you have one?
I was gonna say skills as well.
Skills? Great. And how about you?
Oh, she said,
Okay, perfect, perfect. Okay, so what are the first 3 to-dos? What if you guys decide I'm going to start a business right now, today, on my computer? What's the first thing you're going to do?
How many figure out how much money you're going to need to get off the ground, like you said, like tech idea, how much it costs to actually create the product.
Yeah.
Once you launch.
Open up some business accounts, put $1,000 in it. That's a great first step, or more than $1,000, 25 grand.
You gotta actually have like product or service that you can give to the people.
Yes, you have a business plan and an actual idea on what it is that's going to monetize your idea, the product. Do you have one?
I would make those.
Yeah, business plan's a great idea. What if you're ADD or hyper and ready to execute right now and start doing some things today? What is it that you guys could do right now on your computers if you wanted to start your business? Research? Yeah, that's a big one. That's a pain in the butt. Get it registered with the state. That's one of those 3 that are about to show up.
Establish a brand.
Establish a brand. How do you do that?
Domain name.
Domain name. Yes. Yeah, that's exactly. We hit 2 of them, and there's lots of other good ones. There's no right way on where to start. And then I'm a big fan of handshaking and networking and getting advice from experts in the field. So I put handshaking. If you're an extrovert and comfortable doing that, great way to kind of get some feedback on your idea. And obviously, business cards are a great way to accentuate that. Did I see another hand? Okay. So let's talk a little bit more about what your idea is. What is that product? What is it that you're selling? What's your business? And a lot of times in the industry, in the startup industry that is, you'll hear, well, you have to solve a problem. You have to fill a gap. So what's a gap? An unmet need. Yes. Yes, like this thing that's dying with a little battery in it. I need a little charger or extra batteries. Or it's annoying. It's a problem. It's a gap, maybe. Do I see another hand? What else is a gap? Basically solving problems. Exactly.
Unmet need.
An unmet need, a problem, something that's freaking annoying. So feasibility is the next one. What is a feasible business or idea? What does it mean if it's feasible? Yeah.
Yeah, and get it done, not just wait till out there, bring the product or service to someone.
Yeah, absolutely. You can reach it or understand 90% of it or be close enough to access and execute on that idea.
That has to be sustainable, because yeah, you can do something maybe for a year, and then it crashes after.
Yeah. Yeah, if you start doing a consulting gig that you get burnt out on, a year later you're done. You don't really have anything to show for it if you just get burnt out. Maybe a brand that's not really being run.
Feasibility is essentially like determining how you're gonna make like your market research and your capital research and all of the other like factors that you need. It's basically getting like a checklist of does it meet this criteria, does it meet this criteria, like how will I, again, like sustainability said. And it's being able to like check those off and say that it's gonna be viable.
Yeah, checklists are great. They're your best friend. Evernote, little piece of paper. If you know what to write down that you later need to check off, that probably means it's feasible. That's a great point. So here are some general startup tips that I'm a fan of. So don't wait. Get your feet dirty right away. Jump in, register that domain right now. There's a promo code ANIMAL. I think the promo code is actually ANIMAL on GoDaddy. I'm not sure if that has expired yet, but if you buy a domain, I think it's only $2 instead of $15 or whatever they try to charge you. So go buy your domain. Oh, yeah. Ask and listen to mentors. You need to know the experts in your field because you're going to have questions that you don't have answers to. And the best way to get those ideas and those answers is to go and shake hands and meet the experts in your field. They've done it before. They know the industry. They know the research without you having to spend all those hours trying to find it from Google. And of course, that decreases the risk, right? We talked about the risk being up here. If we can get that a little bit lower, maybe we can start our business today, right? Have a plan B if everything fails. Don't risk everything, even if it makes a good story if you're successful. 95% of startups fail, so don't risk all of your retirement account. Don't risk more than you can afford. It's much cheaper to go out there and learn from mentors and research online and lower that risk where it's to a point that you can afford to take that risk. Feasibility versus scalability. So this is what we were talking about earlier with consulting. Maybe you can make your own money right away with a service-based business or a lifestyle business. Something that's not hugely scalable, that takes advantage of the technology wave that we're in. Because for the first time here in 2015, we can sign up and put things on people's screens for free. And that's very underrated. And what I mean by that is you can scale a business to reach everyone who has a screen in front of them. And that's tech startups, little apps that we download and use. You can scale those. And like Instagram, how many employees did they have when they were acquired? Wasn't it just like 10? Does anyone know? I think it's around 10. Like, that's pretty crazy. A company can sell for $1 billion and only have 10 employees. That used to not be the case back before we had all these screens. So, of course, my recommendation is look at tech startups. Lifestyle startups, businesses are great. They'll get you in the mindset and get you thinking like an entrepreneur. They'll get you thinking like a business owner. But sometimes you'll run into problems on how much you can scale them. And we can talk about that later if we have time. So who am I? I'm from New Mexico.
Before we get into that, can you go back to the front?
Yes.
What do you mean by incentivize your mentors by sharing equity in your assets?
Yes, so if you go and register that domain in business right now, you own 100% of it, right? How much is it worth? Anyone? How much is it worth if you register right now?
Well, I mean, if you would pay something, that's how much it would be worth, so if it was $2 to buy it, I guess it's worth $2.
Yeah, it's probably worth $2 or less. Domains are valuable, though. Let's just talk about registering the business. That's not much. A domain is an asset and can be worth money. But what I mean by sharing equity in your idea is get other people vested in your idea. Approach a mentor who is in your industry and wants you to succeed because they see you as them when they were younger. Share equity with them, so if you're ever acquired, they get a small paycheck, and they'll give you that advice. You can actually get their time, even if they're a busy person. And that's what I mean by sharing equity with them.
You're not referring really to venture capitalists.
Sometimes. But I don't think VC money is the best for every startup. It sure is sexy, but it's not the best for every startup. So what I mean by sharing equity is maybe if you share 2% of your company with a mentor, they give you a piece of advice that allows you to get your first customer, and now that 98% of the company you own is worth more than the 100% you used to own. Be willing to share. Share your successes. You can't do it alone. Any other questions on that guy? Sweet. So who am I? My name is Matt. I'm from New Mexico. And back in 2006, I started here at DU. Used to take classes in this classroom. These were my favorite classes, by the way. The speakers were way more successful than I'll ever be. With a big thanks to Ed Lewis and Paul Bauer and some other teachers that bring in speakers with entrepreneurship classes and kind of open your mind into what it means to be an entrepreneur and what you can do with that and how it probably is the best way to chase your passions because you can do it full time. Getting distracted. I registered my first business in 2009, so I was a senior. That got me in the right mindset. I never really made any money with that company, but it got me thinking like an entrepreneur. So then I graduated in 2010. In between 2010 and that real estate company right there, I wasn't making enough for my first company, so I had to go get a job, did sales for 6 months, came back to DU, got the MBA. Is anyone doing the 4+1, by the way? No one? That's all right.
Anybody gonna apply? 4+4.
Not the +1, I'm planning on coming to grad school, so.
Like, no, you guys would have to do 4+1 plus, takes 5 quarters, or 4+4, if you got involved in it right now. But they're doing away with it. And you're one of the last class, maybe
That's
even
right.
juniors, might be the last class that can take advantage of it.
Yeah, I heard about that actually. That's right. Well, anyway, it was cool getting some experience doing sales before coming back for the MBA. But anyway, while I was doing sales, I thought about launching this real estate company, which to date is still what pays my bills. But basically, Denver's real estate market is hot, and we take money from outside investors and try to make them a decent return on it by securing it and promising their money against the actual properties we pick up. We also have like a real estate networking event and some office space that we sublet to other business owners too. But other than that, we're just picking up and buying residential real estate properties. It's pretty simple. It's just riding a market trend after doing a little bit of research and a ton of luck. So grew that. And then also, right after graduating the MBA, joined a tech startup that I found on Kickstarter. It was just a super cool idea. And rode that wave, lost $8,000 on that one, which doesn't really matter. The numbers get a lot smaller once you get into owning a business. But lost some money on that, tried a jewelry startup, didn't go anywhere. The last one I was working with before doing the Handshakin now that I'll get to was an online marketing firm, a consulting firm pretty much. Had a co-founder out in Phoenix. We made some money with that one and then closed it. Don't really have much besides the experience to show for it now. Good old lifestyle businesses. So fast forward to 2014. I'm on my 9th startup. I've also graduated from a startup accelerator called Founder Institute. Has anyone heard of a startup accelerator or startup incubator? It's basically an entrepreneurial training program that trains you and makes you launch your business. And it's not a class you pay to take like in the traditional academic setting where we are now. But you have to get accepted, and then you also have to graduate, which is another hurdle. So obviously most people don't get accepted to Founder Institute, and also most of the people who are accepted drop out or are kicked out before graduation. So definitely recommend that if you're interested in getting involved with tech startups. Founder Institute. It's fi.co. So after graduating that, I finally...
Where is that at? Is that here?
Founder Institute's out of Silicon Valley. Their vision's globalizing Silicon Valley. And they have classes at all the different startup hubs in Denver because you got to get familiar with the startup ecosystem if you're going to be into startups, right? So sometimes Galvanize, Innovation Pavilion, Cooley Law Firm up in Broomfield, handful of others. So after graduating, I finally figured out, oh, wow, I've been doing all these different startups, spread too thin. I'm not devoting enough time to one interest. What's the best way to chase my passion? What the hell is it? And the passion's helping aspiring entrepreneurs launch their business. That's really what I like doing every day. If you guys want to start a business, reach out to me and let's grab a coffee. I would love to help you for free because that's what I like doing all day, every day. And Founder Institute helped me find the way to do that. So now we have a structured video series and a mentorship program. And I'm also organizer of Startup Denver on meetup.com. So if you want to go to startup events, check us out. meetup.com/startupdenver. And
Is that Startup Denver, is that one sponsored out of Seattle or Portland? Startup weekends?
there's Startup Weekend. I think there's a DU Startup Weekend soon, isn't there?
Next weekend.
Yeah. And then there's Denver Startup Weekend, a different set of organizers.
Oh, okay.
There's startupdenver.com, which we're partnering with and hopefully acquiring the domain and all that. It's not being run full-time really right now. There's also Denver Startup Week. There's a lot. Denver was rated the second best city to launch your business by Forbes. So if you don't want to be part of the 95%, you're already doing a great job just by sitting here and enjoying this weather. So anyway, working on the video series, the mentorship program, and the events. That's what I'm doing full-time now. Mentorship program, events, video series. What's in the handshake? So there's values to handshaking as an entrepreneur that are very important to the success of your company. And the 3 that we're on right now is build relationships with the experts in your network. Go and shake hands, be respectful of their time, and ask for honest feedback. Most people want to help entrepreneurs. It's cool to be an entrepreneur. And be your own boss and make your own hours, if that's a thing. Although sometimes I doubt it. Attribute success to your network, you know. Share with the people who you work with and your mentors and attribute success to them because you really didn't make it there alone if you ever see any success as an entrepreneur. And the third value is execute your idea right now. Go register a domain. Ignore me. GoDaddy.com. Promo code ANIMAL. So for those of you who were on Facebook instead of GoDaddy, that's okay. Here's the only 3 things I would encourage you to leave with if you're considering starting a company. That would be feasibility that we talked about. Make sure you understand how you're going to get there. You can make your dream a reality. Just research it. Bring the risk down. Don't risk too much. Second, execution. Register the domain right now. I think we already covered that. That course has been beaten too much. And seek qualified advice. Find mentors in your industry. We have a mentorship program. We're filled up until our next one, January of next year. Check us out if you're interested. Or if you have a specific idea in a specific industry, go and research people on LinkedIn. Connect with them. Ask for a 15-minute coffee. So those are the 3 takeaways. Make sure it's feasible. You have at least a good enough idea on how you're going to get there. Go ahead and execute right now. Take the next step. And go and connect with people who can advise you when you're asking questions and you have no idea what the answer is. That's a pretty common thing. Quotes. Okay, who have we not heard from? Has everyone chimed in?
There's a few people that haven't chimed in. Have you, Z-Way? What's your question?
We don't have to get the questions yet. Maybe we can start with one of these quotes.
Really quick, what's the website? Handshaking?
Handshakin.com, no G. Someone bought that a long time ago and will probably sell it to me for a lot of money. Yeah.
So, let me clarify something I wasn't quite sure I understood. You said that, if I understood correctly, your environment, this handshaking environment, a mentor, entrepreneurship to be environment, you're already filled up until next January?
Yeah, so right now, the video series is what we launched, and we launched a mentorship program under that. And we accepted 6 mentees who want to work on the pilot program, give us some feedback and some testimonials. And then we'll launch a more formal mentorship program. And we'll be, I think October is when we'll be picking who will be a mentee. And we'll be pairing them with people in the startup industry. I already have interest from a guy who's a mentor at Techstars, which is a popular startup accelerator. And he's done a couple of startups, another attorney. So for free, you can sit down with an attorney and ask questions about your startup. Because there's just a lot of people who want to give back to aspiring entrepreneurs. But we're structuring how it's done. And it seems to be catching some traction.
So my only question then is, I mean, I realize this is a starting point for us. So at what point, when we all talk about scalability, we talk about growing, it almost seems, let's see, it's April now, my point being is this seems like a slowly evolving, rather than getting in there and doing something now and then scale it up in terms of what you want to accomplish in terms of building your brand and making things happen
With the video
potential
series.
entrepreneurship.
So let's pause for a second, and I can answer that question. So the video series was launched because I wanted to interview Colorado's most successful entrepreneurs and learn the nitty-gritty questions that aspiring entrepreneurs need to learn, like myself. I'd consider myself an aspiring entrepreneur too. I've never sold a company to Google yet. I've been self-employed since 2011. Maybe that's worth $1, but not much. There's a ton of people in Colorado. It's the second best city that have huge success stories. And I want to go interview them and ask them, how'd you do it? And how did networking and handshaking play a role in that? And that's the vision. So the mentorship program and the local events are local here in Colorado. The way I plan to scale the video series is to reach an international audience and be Colorado's voice on entrepreneurship and how networking plays a role into that. And the way we'll scale it is we're a content provider, right? So we have to have Twitter followers, Facebook likes, Instagram likes, quality videos that are edited professionally and that drive home true value to your questions on entrepreneurship and networking. So to scale, we need to get there. Right now, we've only had our soft launch, so we haven't even had our hard launch yet. That happens mid-August, probably around August this year. So right now, we're still in pilot beta mode. Catching more traction than I have with any of the previous startups. I think with this one, there's over 20 people involved, and that's never been the case with any of the previous startups. So that's how we'll scale. But of course, we're doing a lot of local things too, and we're limited to the 3 million people in Denver versus the 350 million people in America and way more internationally. So I think there's just shy of 600,000 companies registered each month. So there's a good amount of people out there that need advice. And there's a lot of other people doing it too, but the cool thing about being a content provider is I can go and interview another content provider and we get exposure to each other's audiences. And that's what we're doing. So all the traffic we have right now is organic. From hosting events, having the mentorship program, sending out the email campaign to people who find us, and but once we have our hard launch, we're going to be a little bit more comfortably funded, and can pay the SEO company so we can find the people who are searching for how do you find your co-founder with your startup, and can optimize and get more professionals involved to really make sure this is a legitimate and comfortably funded effort. So that's kind of the long-term strategy. I guess I breezed over quite a bit of that, but I'm more interested in you guys and you launching your businesses. So let's go back to where we were. So I think how are we on time? Are we good?
37, you're good.
Sweet.
About 13, 15 minutes.
Okay. So don't worry about failure. You only have to be right once, said Drew Houston, the Dropbox co-founder. What does that mean to you?
Try your idea and fail is okay. You have get the experience.
Yeah, that's spot on. Try your idea, embrace failure.
Can you fail 10 times? Huh?
Hell yeah.
Why not? Every failure is an experience, a learning experience.
Yeah, failure. They say failure is just R&D, research and development. I think you're just kind of learning. It's a big part of it. Putting yourself out there, showing everyone what you're trying to do, even if it's disgusting. You'll at least catch some feedback right away, and with feedback, you can take the next step.
It also reminds me of Thomas Edison when he was making the light bulb. Who knows how many times he tried to, I think he said that he failed over 2,000 times.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody came up to him and said, "You failed 2,000 times." He's like, "No, I didn't. I found 2,000 ways not to make a light bulb."
Boom. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. And perhaps that plays into the very next quote. It's fine to celebrate success, but it's more important to heed the lessons of failure. Yes, embrace it. It's a good thing. It's normal in the industry. When you're an entrepreneur, you're the decision maker, and you will mess up over and over and over and over again. And it's okay to learn from that. It's a good thing. Put yourself out there. Execute today. Thank you guys for your time. First, any questions?
Yep. Can you tell us why you became an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so I
What drove
think...
you? What motivated you to, and particularly in light, okay, you started a business there, I think you said before you actually graduated DU, okay, the automobile company, but then you go out, and you come back, you get an MBA, you could have gone into corporate America.
Yeah.
Why did you, what motivated you to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so my first company was called Matt's Wheels. And that company was started because of something that was pretty obvious in front of me. Before I had registered that, I had bought and sold cars and motorcycles and flipped a little bit, right when I was sitting in those seats that you guys were. And I made a little bit of money, and my friends saw that and started asking me, "Matt, can you help me buy this car from this guy on Craigslist?" And I said, "Of course." And then my friends' friends started saying, "Matt, it's good to meet you. Can you help me with this too?" And I said, "Of course, but wait, I don't even know you, and I'm saving you like $2 or $3 grand. I'm going to charge you for this." So it was a gap, and it was feasible too. So that's why I started my first business. But I'd say I just kind of slipped into it. My major was psychology, and I thought people were fun, and it's still a fun interest of mine, but as soon as I registered the first company, I fell in love with it. Like, it's a lot of fun. The amount of creativity that you can express on a daily basis to actually see real-life results is probably a reason that anyone should launch a company who is able to and has that mindset.
So we're basically like a broker for car buyers in your first one?
Nope, so I technically would be a buyer's agent. So I would help people buy a car private party. Right, you have dealerships, and you have Carfax if you want to buy private party. So let's look, there's dealerships and there's private party, and there's the Carfax, maybe you can bring your mechanic to help you buy private party, but there's not really a structured way to buy private party and not have to worry about anything. We took care of the negotiating, the inspection, making sure it was the right car, the Carfax. It was an entire process that would help you buy a car private party at a heavily discounted price compared to the dealership.
So you said Denver is like the second best place to be launching your company. So what are some of the other ones that are highly recommended?
Well, if you Google Forbes, best city to launch your business, it'll come up. I know the first city that Forbes rated was San Diego,
San Diego.
which was kind of surprising.
Considering San Francisco.
Me too. Me too. San Diego was the first, I think, according to the Forbes article.
This is the start of business.
The best place to launch your business, I think, was the diction Forbes used. But you think about it, and is it San Francisco? How much does rent cost there?
Competitors there now, but I
That?
think
Yeah.
like 5 years ago, that was it, and like now everyone who was living in San Francisco is having to move across the bay because all the young tech people came in, started the businesses, built it up, and now it was always affordable.
Yeah, it's market trends. Like, this place is cool. Like, who likes Colorado and the weather outside right now? Like, this place is awesome. It's affordable to live, although that's changing pretty quickly, which we're sure happy about with the real estate company. But there's a lot of resources here, too. There's more startup hubs than even someone as deep in the industry as me can even keep up with. There's a ton of success stories here. There's tons of VC firms. This is the place to launch your business without having to pay triple the amount for rent.
But is Denver going to be sustainable if that's the trend right now? Will people continue to be able to start their businesses, or will it get burnt out like a lot of places?
I mean, I'm sure trends might shift one day. And as far as your question, if people get burnt out, it's a case-by-case basis. It's hard to say generally.
Not like burnt out in like give up sense, but more just like that there's too much competition, like with the industry, you know?
Yeah, and that would depend on the industry. But there is some competition. I mean, the scary thing about ideas is if you have a good idea, someone else probably already has it. And now it's coming down to who's executing today and who's getting the advice from the experts in the industry to actually take the next step with that. Like, if you're supposed to launch your business, right now is a great time. And in fact, let me give you guys another statistic to further convince you to register your business. So Forbes, we talked about Forbes, right? Another reputable business source is Business Insider. And Business Insider says that by 2020, 40% of the American workforce is going to be contractors, freelancers, and temporary workers. 40%, almost half of the American workforce is not going to have the traditional graduate college and go get a job route. So what does that mean? That's just in 5 years. What does that mean? It means if you can make your own money, if you can be an entrepreneur, go and do it right now. A student's the best time to do it. Like, I probably wouldn't have slipped into it if I wouldn't have registered when I was a student. Because when you're a student, you have a little bit more time. Whatever you're doing financially, it's good until you graduate, allegedly. It's a good time to launch your business and run into those mistakes and learn right away.
That's what I want to ask. You asked the class in terms of start, what are the good things to start, what are the bad things? From your standpoint, what are the ups, what are the good, what's the bad, what's the really ugly out there?
That's funny you ask. I wrote a blog post on that a few weeks ago. So if you guys LinkedIn, you can find all the blog posts pretty neatly organized. And I wrote about 6 opportunities for startups in 2015. It was posted at the beginning of the year, I guess, maybe a month or 2 ago. And I wrote about 6 different ideas, but the one that really stood out to me that I think is a good opportunity is, guess what, a tech startup. It's software. So if you look at dashboards right now, if you have any type of dashboard, including when you log into DU's portal, I think those are going to get much more passive. Right now you have to actively dig through them to find information you're looking for. And when you look at other things, like even if you make a Facebook page, Facebook shows you the analytics. You don't have to go look for them. You don't have to install Google Analytics. It's convenient. It's passive. And that's the direction I think dashboards are going to go, including Google Analytics. Right now with Google Analytics, you still have to dig through it and kind of find, what is it? How does this user use the website? And moving forward, that's going to get more easy because software is going to always be improving, like it always is, as long as we're in the technology wave. So that's one of them. There's 5 others on the blog. I think it really, I'd ask yourself if you're interested in launching, what industry do you know people in? What industry do your parents come from? That's a good way. Parents can be a good mentor, especially if they have experience in the industry. Your peers, what are they working on? Are they also entrepreneurs? Or are they also interested in the same industry? And look at what's already around you. and use that to decide what the greatest opportunity is for you.
What's been the worst part of you being an entrepreneur? To be honest.
Oh, do I have to? Let's see. Well, let's see. Lawsuits, we're in real estate, right? Does anyone know a tenant that liked their landlord? No. Like, I still have a landlord, and Tracy, he's okay. But if we run into a problem, I'm freaking not going to be happy. I'll threaten. I don't want to pay. It's his fault, not mine. So, we see lots of legal threats, and we handle them. And fortunately, Colorado, in my opinion, is a pretty landlord-favored state. But lawsuits are stressful. That part of entrepreneurship is not fun. But the good news is with tech startups, I don't think you see as much of that. If you're VC funded, you're going to run into that, but you'll have the support for it. Let's see, what else is not fun? Well, let's see, I mentioned I lost $8,000 on a startup back in 2012. That sure wasn't fun. Was the experience worth more than $8,000? Yes. Was that hard to see at the time? Yes. Was it fun? Hell no. Okay, what else?
What are you now, this mentor program that you're setting up, but you, before, or maybe you still are, you had these, I don't know what you want to call it, informal happy hour events or something like where you get entrepreneurs together. You still doing that?
Yeah, so with Startup Denver, the group on Meetup, we have, last I checked, 265 movers and shakers, we call them. And we host about 2 events per month. We have Startup Roundtable Networking, where we start in a circle and spend 20 seconds saying, here's my idea, here's what I need help with. And then everyone takes their turn. We stand up and network. We have Pitch Battle, our first one coming up. Next Monday at 4 p.m. in the Schneider Boardroom upstairs, we're having an interactive panel. So if you have a tech idea, join us at 4 p.m. And wait, it's 4 p.m. on a Monday, isn't it? Is today Monday?
Yes.
Oh, so you guys are going to be right here while we're having our event. That's too bad. I'll let you know if I see someone there. But we have a panel on an entrepreneur asking a developer, how do we work together? You have this app idea, but you need to work with a developer. You're not the technical co-founder. How do you work together? How do you find a developer? Rather, earn a developer, I think, is what we use in the industry. So all kinds of different events for entrepreneurs with the sole goal of helping them launch their
This is
business.
sponsored by your company.
Yes, so we're,
Holmes Holdings or?
yeah, so Holmes Holdings kind of evolved into the Handshakin video series.
Okay.
That's what it's looking like right now, but it's the same entity. And yeah, we have co-organizers, but all of it's being funded by us.
Okay. Does that help you get your name out and be part of the
Yes.
network?
So when I approach the big names like Brad Feld, the CEO of the Container Store, and the CEO of Toyota North America, all 3 of those guys are people we're trying to get on the video series. And by hosting Startup Denver's Meetup and having a mentorship program, it's a little easier to go and handshake with them because they're the experts in my industry. They're the experts that help it. Well, Brad Feld, rather, and incubators, they're the experts in helping aspiring entrepreneurs launch. So that's kind of why we're doing it.
Okay. How about any last questions here? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I have a question about your video series. I know you're talking about trying to get these big names and everything. Who have you interviewed or talked to that has been like the most influential or like has the best advice that would help us?
Well, I'd have to learn more about you guys, which I'd love to do, to tell you which video is best. I'd say the video that's public right now is our most recent one, which was an interview with a guy named Gary Gessler. He's a serial entrepreneur, has run many startups. He's the go-to-market co-founder. He's a handshaker himself. And I talked to him for about 10 minutes on how do you find co-founders and what kind are the best. Do you want to launch it with your friends or strangers? Do you want to launch it with technical people or other go-to-market handshakers? And we talked about that for about 10 minutes. I'd say that's a good one if you're looking to launch a business with a co-founder. We also talked about if you should have a co-founder or not. So that one I'd say I'm the most proud of. Each video drastically improves. Like I said, we've only had our soft launch, so the videos are getting much better each time. The first one's a joke already, back from December or January. But we have some pretty big names coming up. Brad Feld is looking like a yes, and Brad Feld is probably one of the biggest thought leaders out of Colorado in the tech startup industry. We have a Jim Franklin coming up who built a company from 0 to over 250 employees. SendGrid was the name of that startup. And some other exciting ones. Hopefully some of the guys that come to Voices of Experience, have any of you guys gone to those? No? Yeah, they have some pretty big names come in, and we're trying to get some of those guys on the video series. So maybe that answers your question, Miss Lacey.
Oh, you had mentioned like the program with the attorneys, helping like advise the officer. Is that pro bono, and like is that the one through DU actually?
No, it's our own mentorship program,
So you guys
and
have an attorney that you,
it's free right now. Right now, our pilot one right here, you can have more information. And right now it's just our pilot, right? So we're still figuring it out and getting feedback on what it feels like to be a Handshakin mentee and if we're introducing quality resources to you or not. As far as next year, I don't know if we're going to charge for it or not. If we do, it's going to include things like your website's up and running at the end of it. You're going to get meetings with startup attorneys and stuff like that. We have a spot where people can apply to be a mentor, and we've been getting a few applications. And if they're startup CPAs, great. Now we have a mentor who will get paired with a mentee and give them advice on how to deal with taxes as an entrepreneur. And same thing with the attorney. So I don't know if that answers your question.
well, yeah, because then DU's law school, like I worked there, and I recently just talked to someone who was talking about like a clinic that they do where they have.
Oh, yeah.
It's like an
Yeah.
internship essentially, that's how it works.
Mhm.
I'm like an undergrad. And it's like they have like these attorneys working with small businesses to help them get their feet under them essentially, and like it's supporting Denver, especially in like the Santa Fe area.
Mhm.
And so it's like a really like cool new program that they've been developing for the past few years, I guess. And like, I mean, that's something I was interested in like working on and stuff, because I like small businesses and I like law.
Sweet.
And so like, I just wanted to know like how your experience was going with like through your companies.
Yeah, I mean, the attorney that will likely be a mentor of
Is it
ours.
a volunteer thing that the attorney does?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so right now he's working as a judge and he's interested in getting more involved with entrepreneurship. So there's a value going both ways. He gets to hear from the actual entrepreneurs on how they're launching and then give his legal opinion on it.
Okay.
But yeah, it's not, I mean, maybe one day when the business is launched and profitable, you employ that attorney and others. That's kind of how we provide a value up the chain of the network, if that makes sense. But
Yeah, like even budding attorneys and like law people, like I actually just heard like if they do pro bono work and like they do a lot of volunteer work, they're eligible for like the Chancellor Scholarship, which essentially pays for most of their law
Nice.
school. So I would would you guys look into people like that because they're trying to get that kind of pro bono work in before they can even go to law school, like, or is that not enough experience?
well, first of all, thanks for mentioning that. I would plan to talk to the law school and see if there's collaborative opportunities.
Fourth floor, I forget what his name is though, but I mean, just ask, he's like the unofficial mayor, he said. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, connecting with organizations like that and causes like that would be a high priority of ours. If it helps aspiring entrepreneurs, we want to be on it and involved with it. As far as if they're qualified, I think you have to pass the bar before you can give legal advice.
That's true.
So there's,
But they have like this internship, like,
yeah, there's a concern there, but it's worth checking out at the very least, for sure. Thanks for mentioning.
Okay, one last question.
Well, so I don't even know how to put it in my question, but I interned at the Governor's Office of Information Technology a while,
Nice.
and they were working on this, it was a pilot program at the time, but it was essentially like pairing up startups with established businesses and like a mentor-mentee type of thing, but it was online, like you kind of put in what you needed, what you were looking for,
Mhm.
whether it was consultation or, I don't know, tech services or developers or contractors or something, or like what you didn't know about, and it was like kind of was looking to pair that up, because it was trying really hard to promote like IT in Colorado, and I didn't know if you knew anything about it or had talked to them about it, because it sounds like
Let me just
essentially.
add, this concept that the federal government has used for about the last 30 years.
Yeah, but it's just very specific to Colorado and like the mentorship programs and like getting people to luncheons together and doing handshaking and stuff. But through,
It's not called Colorado Innovation.
no,
There is a government website that Hickenlooper, it was one of his efforts. I'm not sure if we're talking about the same thing, but let's chat during break. I'd like to hear more.
Yeah, I mean, I only did very, like, surface work with that part, so I don't know much about it. It's hard to find if it's not, there's any kind of logo.
Yeah.
I'm kind of trying to find it now, but.
Yeah. Well, last thing, if you guys don't mind, the best way we provide value to our sponsors is with Facebook likes and Twitters, and Twitter followers and stuff. So, if you're interested in entrepreneurship, if you're interested in hearing tips, we publish a new post every Monday. On LinkedIn, if you're interested in posts. Otherwise, if you're interested in quick tips, maybe follow us on Facebook or Instagram. So, if you guys could take the time to do that, if you're interested, it would be much appreciated. And that's all she wrote.
Okay, thank you very much, Matt. Appreciate it. Very good, very good,
Thanks.
sir. All right, let's take a quick break, about 5 minutes, so we can come back and get ready, do some article reviews, and then our next speaker. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Yeah.
What's this right here? I've been noticing.
This is a lav. So this is picking up the audio to pair with the video.
Oh, got it, okay.